Okay, Bronze Medal Moms, if you haven't listened to part 1 yet, go back and give it a listen because our friend Gina is back with us.
And now we're going deeper.
We're still with Gina Nichols, 180 method coach and founder of Divorce Redefined. But this time we're talking about something a lot of moms experience,
but not a lot of moms actually say it out loud.
That's divorce.
Not the logistics, not the how-to,
but the shame that could come with it and how to actually move through it.
The quiet thoughts,
the judgment, both real and imagined,
and the pressure to still show up as a good mom while carrying all of that.
So if you've ever felt like you had to hold it all together for everyone else,
this conversation is going to feel like exhaling.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Bronze Medal Moms, the podcast where we aren't going for gold, we're going for bronze on the daily. I'm Amy.
And I'm Amanda, and we are here to remind you that you don't have to be perfect to show up, survive, and even thrive in motherhood.
Okay, hey, Amanda.
Hello. How's it going, Amy?
It's good. I am really excited to know about the conversation we're going to have today because it's one of those topics that you don't even realize it's affecting you. You might not think it will ever affect you until it actually does. So today we're going to be talking about divorce, but then also something that literally applies to every single mom listening.
Birth order.
Yeah, birth order. And not even just our kids' birth order, but
our own. And it's how our birth order shows how we're showing up as parents.
Yeah. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, we started talking about this and I was like, oh, this explains a lot about me.
So today we are joined by our guest, Gina Nichols. She is a post-divorce specialist, a 180 method coach, and the founder of Divorce Redefined, where she helps women rebuild their lives with clarity, confidence, and a renewed sense of identity after divorce.
But what makes this conversation especially interesting and honestly relatable to every mom is Gina's insight into birth order and how being a firstborn, middle, or youngest child can quietly shape the way we show up in motherhood today.
Yay! So I'm really excited for this conversation. And Gina, we're so glad you are here.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yay. Welcome to Bronze Medal Moms. So the first thing, though, you have to give us your story. Kind of how did you go?
All the details.
Yeah. How did you go from your own experiences into this? And I love that it's a post-divorce specialist and you've created Divorce Redefined. If you want to tell us a little bit about that, because I think it's one of those words that people are afraid to talk about.
For sure. And
there's a whole country song, DIVORCE.
Right. Well, and I think for me, and especially in my situation, there's so much shame. There's so much shame, so much guilt attached to that word and that process. And it just, I've been doing so much work on and learning about energy.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're vibrating in that frequency, that shame, that guilt, it's the lowest level frequency there is.
Mm.
And I will tell you, I lived there for 20 some years, right? So I got married the first time. So I've been married 4 times, and I got married the first time kind of out of college. And this was almost 40 years ago. So, and it was just, like that was the thing you did, right?
Right. Like that's the expected. You get married out of college. You buy for what is it? What do they call it? Your MRS degree.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went to school in Boulder, and then I live in Colorado, and then I moved to Colorado Springs, and I hadn't gotten the ring yet, so I was very feeling very behind, right? Like a lot of my friends were already down that path. And so anyway, I met somebody shortly after I moved here, and I really thought, I need to be married. He didn't ever really want to be married, but he kind of just went along with it and had big wedding, beautiful wedding. It lasted 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah, I was talking. I'd started this Bible study. I joined this church. I didn't really grow up going to church a lot, but I joined this Bible study. It was super intense. It was 9 months long, and I missed the second week because I got married, and my Bible study lasted longer than my marriage did. So, and again, like there was so much shame around that.
Mhm.
But we didn't have kids. It was kind of an easy split, but it still counted. So, a couple of years after that, I met my second husband, and we kind of progressed really fast. We got engaged in about 3 or 4 months, and then he was involved in a plane crash. He'd moved here to go to flight school. He'd wanted to be in the Air Force, but I think he was colorblind, so they wouldn't let him in. But he moved there to go to this little flight school, and he was in a plane crash, and we were kind of teetering on like, this was this going to work? Was it not? And then after that, we just boom, we were getting married.
Wow.
And shortly after that, I got pregnant, and he started seeing somebody kind of probably right in the middle of when I was pregnant. Now, I didn't really know at the time, but I started having suspicions. And then when my daughter was about 5 months old, he left. And then he came back and moved in and out about 6 times in 6 months. And
Well, you have an infant.
I have an infant.
Oh my goodness.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I have an infant. So finally, when she was about a year old, she was born in December, end of December. When she was about a year old, I finally said, I mean, enough, right?
Yeah.
Enough.
Yeah.
And that one was one that was a lot harder to survive, that one. Because I had this baby. I mean, like,
I think you're still postpartum.
Yeah. And it's your
Yeah.
first too, right?
Yeah, you're still going through a ton of non-marriage related emotions.
Yes. And we had this house. He'd gotten a decent settlement from this whole thing, and we'd bought 5 acres out in this area north of town. It was just beautiful. I loved it. I loved my house. I loved where we were, and I just basically lost everything. And they yeah, I remember like coming home one day, and I remember pulling in my garage, and my daughter was in the back. I picked her up after work, and I just thought, I'm just gonna leave this car running. Like I'm just gonna leave this car running. And then I heard her, right, looked back and kind of snapped out of it. And
Right.
okay, like I gotta figure this out. And
Yeah.
and so we did get divorced, and he actually married the woman that he left for, but I got to actually be pretty good friends with her. She's well, and it's kind of part of this whole thing, right? Like she was going to be in my daughter's life.
Right.
And
I've heard of women becoming friends with the new wife.
Well, and it could either be terrible or it could be, but what's the best thing for my child? And that's kind of, again, part of my story, and part of why I wanted to do this is because it doesn't have to be the way people think it should, the way people do it. Like,
well, I was gonna say, how selfless of you though, and self-aware to actually put your daughter first, because I don't imagine that happens a lot in a lot of divorces that I hear, right? They're sometimes they're pinning the kids against each other.
Yeah, my current husband, he went through that. He went through a really, really, really ugly divorce. In fact, and this was 20 years ago, and he has 2 daughters, and one of them he still doesn't really speak to. I mean, it was so brutal. And so and he didn't see either one of them for about 10 years.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
So I just knew I didn't want that.
Yeah.
I didn't want that for my daughter. And so I just asked her one day, I'm like, do you want to get dinner? Right. And we did, and we talked, and they lived here obviously at the time, but they moved out of state when my daughter was like in kindergarten. So she would go back and see them, some, but it just it was just so much better for her. And I always think like I'm gonna write a book someday that's called I Love Them More, right? Because
yeah.
I just loved my kids more than I ever disliked
Anything else. Yeah. I
That
love
is
that.
huge. That's huge. I was just watching some reel about this, about some mom that was dropping off her son and making her son walk across the parking lot to see the dad. And the dad was like, please stop making him do that. I don't want him walking across the parking lot. And everyone was saying, like, her hatred for you is stronger than her love for her
Yeah.
son.
Well,
You have to get over that.
yeah, and my husband now he would say that. He goes, I just couldn't, still to this day, he really struggles with it. But so I get divorced. That's number two. Now it's like, wow, I really sucked, right? Like that's my mentality. And yeah,
What I would think, not only that, I've not been divorced, but I would assume not only do you feel that sense of like, oh my gosh, I failed, but also you had mentioned like your house and where you lived, you loved it. Your sense of what life is and is going to be and is supposed to be is kind of gone.
completely.
Yeah. And like
I remember that's a
your
really good point,
future,
Amy.
your future that you imagine is gone on top of everything else.
I have one of my best friends, she got divorced and it wasn't terribly, like it was fine. They're very amicable and they've done everything right and everything's great. But I remember when she called me and she said her divorce is final, and I knew this is what she wanted. So I was like, yay, I'm gonna bring you over a bottle of wine. I'm gonna celebrate. And she's like, no, I'm just sad. And I said, why are you sad? And she goes, I just am mourning the life that I had imagined and
Right.
it's gone.
Yeah.
And it was so, I thought that was so well said that I was like, yeah, that's a
Yes.
whole different side of it, of like, you had planned this life together and now you're kind of mourning that life is much different.
Right.
Well, and I think one of the things that people don't really think about is, you go to these, whether it's a sporting event or a theater, right? You're by yourself. Or even if you're remarried, nobody loves your kid like you do.
Right. Right.
And so it's just, there's nobody to like, I mean, I just remember like seeing so often, like looking around and seeing like couples celebrating their kids, doing whatever, cheering them on, doing whatever. And you're kind of just there by yourself.
Yeah.
And it's very lonely in that sense.
Sure.
Where there's just not that person that you can celebrate with and that you can cheer with and that, just
that
has
gets
that
it all.
same feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. No, I get that.
So tell us now, where are you now?
So then so we get divorced and I got set up on a blind date. And I find out that his dad went to my church and I'm like, great, this is great. Right. And so we meet and he said, oh, I think I saw you. I sang in the choir and he said, I saw you in the choir. And, right. So we would go to church. He seemed great with my daughter or whatever. And again, I jumped in pretty quickly. I was losing my house. It was just not, and I had done.
Also, you seem like a romantic type. Like, what's the Enneagram number here? Like, you're a romantic type.
Yes.
So
I'm a little Pisces, so I'm very sensitive.
I'm a Pisces. That's why. Yeah, I get you, girl. I get you.
Yes. So you're exactly right. And also just that feeling of like, I don't know how to do this on my own. Like,
like that security. You have a kiddo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And his dad, I mean, he was a very well-respected member of the church and the community. I thought, this is great. And I mean, there were lots of red flags. I would be lying if I said that there weren't, but I just kind of overlooked that. And we got married. And then he said he hated church and all the people there. And
Oh no.
it was
sounds like fraud.
yeah, a little bit. But as I do so easily, I got pregnant. And so I had my daughter. So now I have 2 girls, and I'm done having kids. I mean, things were not great. And you just kind of are going along. And his dad had opened like a big liquor store in town. He was a home builder, but he was always doing these side things, and he kind of was doing this for his son to give him something to do. And that didn't work. So they were closing that down. So he's home. In the meantime, I get pregnant again. And we kind of were not even like, nothing was really happening, but too much wine, whatever.
My oopsie baby is right behind me right now.
Yeah, right. And not only do I get that, I get double. I get twins.
Oh my gosh. That's what I told my husband I was pregnant with our oopsie baby. He's like, it's twins. I might crawl under the table. And I was like,
I remember coming home from the my ultrasound, and I called my mom and I said, Mom, what is the biggest joke God could play on me right now? And she's like, twins?
Mom knows. Mom knows.
Mom had an instinct.
Yeah, I said worse. And she's like, boys? Because I grew up with a sister. We'll get into that. I grew up with a sister. I was never really around boys. I
already had 2 girls. Yeah, you're
a girl mom.
Yeah, I was done. All was well, and then here we are. But it was shortly after that he left, and so now here I am, single mom, 4 kids. It was really, really interesting, and just when you say that, like, well, I've been divorced 3 times, and so often you'll hear this, and you'll hear it now when people will say something about somebody, and then they'll say, oh, well, she's been married like 3 times, right? It's this qualifier on your character.
Yep. That's just what I was gonna say.
Something's
wrong with, and typically it's the women. You hear that too much about.
No, you don't hear that about the men.
Well, what's funny is, so my mother-in-law, my husband's dad passed away when he was in college. My mother-in-law has been remarried for 24 years, but the man she married, she is wife number 7.
Oh, wow.
And most people actually give her the side eye because she's wife number 7. They don't give him the side eye for being married 6 times. Yeah.
So this is it's her second marriage, and marriage by being a widow.
Yeah.
If she had it her way, she'd still be married to him.
Well, I don't know. Maybe she may not. Not sure.
But it is true. There is a very
but they've been married 24 years. But he did. She's wife number 7. But you're right. There is this
stigma.
Yeah,
the stigma with women that being married multiple times for women is a bad thing.
And you have young kids
for a man is just par for the course.
So here you are, single mom though, young kids, babies.
Yep. And so with my current husband, we work together, and he was in a not very happy relationship, and we got together kind of before he was done. And so again, and this, we talked about this, Amy, at our retreat, and I, that was always the piece. I never wanted to talk about my story because I had this, it had been done to me multiple times, and then here I'm doing it. And so I think that was just the nail in the coffin for me of this. I'm going to live in this shame
I was gonna say,
for
like a shame bubble. Yeah.
I was going to say, it's almost like you've convinced yourself you don't deserve to be happy.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And I did that, like I said, for 20 years.
Wow.
And finally, and I had been through tons and tons of therapy. I mean, and my husband and I had been through lots and lots of therapy. We were the worst therapy couple ever. We were terrible. But then I found coaching. And coaching is just a whole different, it's totally different. And I did a lot of healing work through that, a lot of healing of kind of childhood things.
Yeah.
And we had been in counseling when I started this coaching program. And I had told him when we decided to do this counseling, I said, we have to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And so we go. It was really bad. We kind of just all mutually quit the therapist as everybody. And I said, I'll never ask you to do another thing again. I'll never ask you to go to another counselor, read a book, nothing.
No.
Where we are is where we are, and
It is what it is. Yeah.
it is what it is. And then I started doing this coaching, and all of a sudden he's like, like, you're different.
He's noticing. Yeah. He's noticing change. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we started doing it as a couple. Because I said to him, I go, after I said, I'll never ask you to do anything ever again.
He said, well,
This.
Well, and I didn't even think about it at the time. I said, she does couples coaching. And he's like, oh, really? I would be interested. And I think also for men, that word coaching as opposed to counseling.
they're in therapy. Yeah.
And they really are two totally different things. But yeah, that we started doing that, and it was huge. I mean, it really kind of turned things around for us, because when you get out of that pit of shame and realize, like, I don't need to live here the rest of my life, right? Like,
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge.
and I just think for women, we just do that. First of all, we tend to take everything on, right?
Yes.
It's all of our fault. And a lot of people
Assume it's something we did wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and with,
Even if it's not our fault, they still assume it's our fault. Even if our
Right.
husbands did something, they assume it's because we drove them to do it.
Exactly.
yes, yes,
I would completely agree to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you do wrong that caused this?
Right. Yeah. So the coaching, though, is that the 180 method?
it is. Yeah. So I became a coach after that. I thought, I love this, and I really feel like I could make a big difference for people.
Yeah.
Doing this, and so it's just, because so much of it is about just taking that ownership, right? Taking that ownership, not in a beat yourself up kind of way, but just, these are the circumstances that I created. And right. And then a lot of it is about forgiveness and kind of this radical forgiveness where you think this was always kind of meant to be this way.
Yeah.
And I think, you hear the saying all the time, everything happens for a reason. I don't love that saying, but I do think everything happens for a purpose and with a purpose.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's a purpose, and what are you going to do with that?
Right.
So I think that's been a big shift for me in this, and in doing just a lot of different coaching work and really working on the energy, and where am I going to live in my energy? Am I going to live in gratitude and joy and all that, or am I going to just, because that's what my kids got. They got this mom that was just so full of shame and guilt and just that's no way to live.
Right. But you can't just wake up one day and decide, like, oh, I'm not going to do that anymore. You're right. It does take a lot of work.
A lot.
I remember saying this to my friend pre her divorce. that she and I were talking that, marriage is hard. Marriage is hard. It is. But she and I would always talk about our marital issues because she's my best friend. And then she was deciding to go the divorce route. And I told her, I said, I just think there is a point when you show your kids the value of sticking it out and the value of commitment and the value of marriage. And then there's also a point when you show them the value of yourself and how much you deserve something different. And she was like, I'm at that point. I deserve something different. She's like, I showed them commitment and it's time. And I was like, but it's time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like because you can fight all you want, but at some point you're showing your kids something bad by staying too.
Yeah.
What a beautiful thing to tell your friend. I mean, that's so huge because
I'm not usually that good with words. It was a margarita induced phrase.
I love that.
Yeah. Recently, an influencer that I know announced her divorce on social media and the internet went wild. One, they thought it was kind of a casual announcement, but also a lot of people in her comments were like, oh no, like, I hate to hear this. You really need to stay married and work on the marriage. And I would never, I've been with my husband. It's hard, but I would never, ever, ever. And I thought, my goodness, I would never, I don't know what goes on behind your doors. And I would never expect someone to work on something that is not something that should be worked on. Right.
No. I think there's a step. There's a step between valuing your commitment and valuing your vow, and then a step between valuing who you are and who you're putting out into the world and who you're showing your children.
Right. And, some people might disagree. Gina, you might disagree, but sometimes I think sometimes you grow up and get older and realize you took the vows, but they weren't to the person you were supposed to take them to.
Well, I agree with that 100% because first of all, if you get married when you're 22, I mean, think about,
oh my gosh,
yourself.
You don't know anything at 22. Like you think you do.
No.
Amy brought that up on another podcast. Now she's full of tattoos and piercings.
Even when I look back, Steve and I have been married 24 years. When I look back, I was 25. We didn't know what we were doing, but boy, did we think we had it figured out. And I'm so not that person today.
Right.
And so I do think, yes, there's something to be said for growing together, but I also am not someone, I personally don't think you have to honor the vow just because you said it. You could have totally said it to the wrong person, right? Like,
well, and life is short, and to live in a situation that's unhealthy or unhappy or whatever, just like you were saying, like it's so much more important for your kids to see a happy parent than it is for them to have them living in the same house.
Yes.
Dolly Parton said this, and I love this Dolly Parton quote. Well, it's not a quote because I'm not going to quote it, but she did say you can't have regret because regret is worthless. You made the decision with the information you had at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So you made the best decision you had. You didn't, now you know different. Yeah. So now you would make a different decision, but there's no point in regretting it. That wasn't the information you had at the time.
Well, I don't know if Amanda knows this, but Steve and I also did the 180 couples coaching.
Oh,
so I was introduced to the 180 through probably a line. So Gina and I actually met, for our listeners, through a mastermind that we did. But we were connected through that. I started going to this Align conference years and years and years ago. And that's when I was introduced to the 180 method. I had done it myself.
Same.
But then when they offered a couples retreat in Costa Rica, I went.
It might have been also that was in Costa Rica.
Maybe. But Steve and I at that point, I mean, we go to Jamaica every year. We're leaving here. We went in April we're going in April to Jamaica. So we go on vacations together, just us with no kids. But we had reached a point where we'd been married 20 plus years and we were just kind of in a rut. We were just like roommates and, everything he did was driving me crazy. And I'm sure everything I did was driving him crazy. So we went to Costa Rica. And that is when Alejandra was there. She was one of the kind of speakers and coaches at the retreat. It wasn't her retreat. And he really connected with her. So when we came back, we did the 10-week couples coaching. And it completely changed everything, but I think even more so for him. I'm not sure he would have had the same breakthroughs in a traditional because therapy setting, even for me, right? You get into like your childhood triggers. And the reason I act like this today is because there's something that I haven't healed, or the reason I'm snapping at him is not actually him. So anyway, it was really great. And so we love the 180 method. Steve still will flip back through his notebook for the
Really, that's awesome.
So you do that though. You coach now.
I do.
You do the 180 method? Is that your Divorce Redefined? You're only focused on kind of
No, I mean, I do it in that, but I've done several people that have not gone through divorce.
Okay.
I don't, you don't have to have done that. As you know, it's great for anybody. I mean,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
anybody needs it. So yeah, but I do tend to connect, with women that have gone through it, or just, I mean, one of my clients, and it was just, I've known her for years, and her husband was retiring, and they just same kind of thing. Just, I mean,
Mhm.
just were not connecting, and everything
You're
was
right.
stalled, and everything was and she went through it, and the change has just been. I mean, she was really dreading him retiring and kind of being home, and now they are just having a great time, and it's just
Love it.
Oh, that's awesome.
it is. It's so fun to see that.
I do. I think when I was doing the 180 method, I was texting all my friends, like, you need to do this, you need to do this. But it's not something like you don't know unless you know. Like, you don't know unless you've done it.
I feel like sometimes
It's so
it's not
good.
even like maybe there's not something specifically wrong in your marriage. Maybe there's not something that you feel like, but it is feeling like you're in a rut and just, comes with time.
And even
I
just
just
doing
the
it.
same thing over and over and over again.
So true. But even just doing the coaching for myself, even before Steve and I did it. I mean, we all have things. It was just, it was really, really good. So what do you think though? Are there, I hate to say mistakes. So the question I had written down to ask you are, what are some of the big emotional mistakes that women typically make after a divorce? I kind of hate that word mistake though, because I don't feel like it's not like they know. Maybe it's like hindsight. What could maybe women do differently after a divorce, or maybe while they're going through a divorce?
That's a great question. And I think so. One of the biggest things is I put all my energy into my kids, and I needed to in a lot of ways, because at one point, like, both the dads left.
Right. It was
One
just
was in
you.
Ohio and one was in Texas, and so like it was me, and I got married probably 4 or 5 years to my current husband after my last divorce. But um I think so many things. One, taking that time for yourself afterwards to do the work, right? Because I think if you want to have another relationship, great. If you don't, great. Either way, but to know, like, to get that healing of not how did you get into the situation to begin with, but I mean, for me, that definitely would have been super helpful.
Right.
And I always think, like, well, again, there was a purpose. I wouldn't have my kids,
Right.
and I wouldn't want any different kids. So, but I think just taking care of yourself, because we don't, and I don't mean like taking bubble baths, which would be great, but really,
It's not that simple.
right? Like, taking care of yourself, really healing, and really doing that work of what do you want for your life after this? Because again, we get so focused and I think dependent, and our society kind of makes that so, like,
Sure.
we're not complete without a partner.
Another person.
Right.
And we are.
Right.
We are. And so I think, and then too, I think just that if you have children, figuring out how to put them first in that situation. you
And I
know,
love what you said. I think you do need to make that book. I love them more. Keeping that in
Yeah.
mind. Yeah. I love them more than I hate.
Their brains are not developed the same as yours. The way they're processing the whole situation is not the same as the way you're processing it. That
no,
really need to put their needs really in the forefront because, and I don't want to say it like you don't disregard yourself, but like they're going to process this whole thing differently than you are.
well, exactly. And I think just showing kind of that united front as parents and co-parents, I think one of the things that I would advise anybody to do is, before you would get into another relationship, is to really find out how that person parents.
Yeah.
Because again, they're kids
Yeah.
and there's not that bond.
Right.
So we say this, I don't know if you know this, I work up at 4 days a week. I work at my kids' school. All three kids, I go to the same school. It's 12 through 8. And I work up at the school at the front desk. And I've been there now for 5 years. And one of the things that we notice is when you're divorced co-parent, you actually have to communicate more than when you're married.
That's so true.
Because there's so many more steps. And then you throw in, and there are some parents at the school that are rocking it. They are rocking the co-parenting. Some have other spouses, some don't. And then others that you can see are still struggling that. But I was like, yeah, you thought you were going to be divorced and you wouldn't have to deal with this person, which now you actually have to deal with them more.
That's so true.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I need you to write this book right away, Gina, because I can already think of some people I need to gift it to because
Okay.
at the theater,
And go.
well, at the theater, we have we're a community theater, you guys know, but then we also have an acting academy. So we have a lot of regular kids that come up through our acting academy. We get to know their parents. I can think off the top of my head, on one hand, I know of at least 5 kiddos whose parents are divorced, but they are not co-parenting well. And it's always so awkward for the kid when it's like performance day because they're not focused on their performance. They're worried if mom and dad are going to argue in the lobby, or they're worried if dad's going to get mad because they want mom to go to the cast party, or is mom going to get mad because they want dad to go to the cast party. And it breaks your heart when you see that.
And who did they talk to first? And I mean, I remember saying like so many uncomfortable.
They hug first.
Yes, because since they're not to that level of co-parenting, they're still keeping score.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what you have to do. You have to stop. You can't keep score.
Yeah.
You have to be okay knowing that your kid is going to still have a relationship with this person that you don't want to have a relationship with anymore.
Right. And so I think this was probably, again, one of what it's a proud thing for me because, it took a while to get to where I was good with, my daughter's stepmother. I mean, that wasn't like it was early on, but it was hard.
Yeah.
Hard. And it was hard for a long time. But my daughter loves her.
Oh, that's hard.
That makes it harder.
Yeah.
Well,
I could never, that's something that I couldn't wrap my brain around.
Maybe it makes it easier because then you at least don't have to worry about your daughter liking her and being around her.
Well, but
that's true.
I think about how they went on to have 3 kids. In fact, side note and a funny story. When I was having my twins, they were having a little boy.
Oh, funny.
All in the hospital at the same time. Their son is he's like 36 hours younger than my boys. So they were all in the nursery together. It's great.
One big happy. Here we go.
But I do think about that. Like she could not. What if she didn't love my daughter?
Yeah.
Oh God, that's even worse.
It would be worse. And so And I think my daughter does think about that. Like, she doesn't have to, like, you have to love me, mom. Like, I'm your kid, but she doesn't have to. She doesn't have to. And she does. I mean, from the, she was kind of her first kid.
Right.
And so, and I think that was, it really has worked out well. I mean, I was just, my daughter lives in Dallas, and so her stepmom goes down there for work sometimes. And so we were both there at the same time. And so the three of us had lunch together. It was a blast. And
I was going to say, I bet it started out so well, though, and I bet, again, I can't speak to this, but personally, but I bet because you made that effort in the beginning to have dinner with her and say, let's do this together. We're in this together. We want to raise this girl together. It probably gave her some assurance too of like, okay, you don't think I'm evil. You think
Right.
I'm here to do, I want good things too. This is
Yes.
just how life has happened for us.
yeah. Yeah.
But you're right. It didn't happen overnight. It had to take a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
And I would wonder how, right? And it takes a lot of healing because this is all happening at the same time, not like in a vacuum. How do, especially moms, I mean, how would you kind of rebuild your identity after being a wife and a mom, right? Because now all of a sudden you're not a wife.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that just comes with that healing to really get solid in who you are kind of as an individual, like you talked about.
Exactly. And really to find out, like, what do you love? What do you want out of life? Because again, you've been in this situation where you thought it was going to be one way. You were, had some vision of what your life was going to be like. And now you get to redefine that and do kind of what you want to do. And I think and I think it's important to take that step. Like, really, what do I want to do now? As opposed to, living in that like anger and I think that level of wanting to, I think my husband's ex-wife, I mean, I think she lived for many years just figuring out the next way to make him miserable.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And what kind of life is that, right?
Yeah, what's that like?
Really.
Yeah.
So
It is so interesting you say that, though. I think about, so I had a few marriage proposals in my day, and they were all very different lives. Very, like, just completely, it would have been, and I always think I'm like, but I'm glad this happened in my life. I wonder how it would have circled back to this, but just, it's who you're with could be. It's a completely different story than you would expect. And you're like shifting gears midway through it.
Yeah.
Gina, let us know. Oh, sorry, Amy.
Okay. No, go.
I was going to say, let us know, how can people connect with you if they want to learn more or partner with you or get some of your advice, all that good stuff.
I have a website. It's GinaNicholsCoaching.com. And then I'm on Facebook and Instagram. So Gina Nichols on Facebook, and then Gina Nichols Coaching on Instagram.
Awesome.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. We will make sure to get those links and put them in the show notes for our listeners. Gina, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you, guys.
So
Thank
fun.
you
This
so
is so
much.
informative.
I know.
Thank you.
I feel like we could just chit chat forever. So maybe
know.
we'll have to do this again and dive deeper into something.
I would love that.
Yay. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great night. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to our moms on Broad's Middle Moms. Don't forget to subscribe, share with your friends, and leave us a review. We'd love to hear from you. See you soon.
Hair up high, coffee in my hand, baby on my hip, still making a stand. Oh yeah. Burnt toast breakfast, cartoons way too loud, mascara smudge, but I'm still proud. Carpool chaos, homework on the floor, I'm tying tiny shoes like I'm heading on tour. Sometimes I'm raging in the minivan line, sometimes I'm crying in the bathroom fine, but I lace up my heart like leather and chrome. Every crazy day I bring it frown, staring me down. Glitter in my hair like a rhinestone crown. Science fair meltdown, costumes all wrong. So we hot glue glory and we sing our song. Sometimes I'm praying at the kitchen sink. Sometimes it's cereal and frozen drinks. But I show up on time for every small show. Every tiny win is all I wanna know. I'm momming like a rock star, doing dishes like a dive bar. Yeah, the crowd is three, but they scream for me. I'm momming like a rock star, perfect mess and a big heart. Give it all I've got, even when I'm falling apart. I'm momming like a rock star. Raise your bottles, raise your bras. Every time, mama, you're a backstage star. We got split up stains, we got battle scars, but we tuck them in like we tune our guitars. We're momming like a rock star, doing dishes like a dive bar. Yeah, the crowd is three, but they scream for me. Scream for me. We're momming like a rock star, perfect mess in a big heart. Give it all we've got, even when we're falling apart. We're momming like a rock star. Hair up high, hands in the air, trying our best, yeah.